Welcome back to Power Panel 365. This is your host, Star Coates. Alright. Welcome back to Power Panel 365. This is your host, Star Coates. And today we're at the Nevada Museum of Art. And I'm going to be showing you guys a few cool things today. So stay tuned. So they have a really cool gift shop. And a teacup tree. Some really nice pillows down there too. An altercation happened between a white woman and a black man. The details are unknown to this day. A dramatic report of this incident in the Tulsa Tribune, May 31st, ignited a riot of white citizens who burned and looted the Greenwood district. By June 1st, Black Wall Street was utterly decimated. Historians believed that up to 300 black citizens were killed. Black Wall Street, Reno's goal is to pay homage to the original Black Wall Street and to highlight the excellence and perseverance that abound in Reno's minority communities. The organizers, Romar Tolliver and Donald Griffin, seek to uplift the communities by eradicating homelessness and literacy for those without many opportunities. For more information to help support the efforts of Black Wall Street Reno, visit their website, www.blackwallstreetreno.org, and their Facebook page, Black Wall Street Reno. So, you got a little video going here on the side, too.
Black Wall Street, the Greenwood district, was also a community of necessity. There wouldn't have been a need for a separate black economic island in Tulsa had it not been for Jim Crow segregation. So black people were not able to participate fully in the mainstream economy dominated by white Tulsans. They created their own economy. This community thrived up until the first devastation, which was the massacre. Many black families spent days, weeks, and months living in tent cities set up by the Red Cross. And the destruction was almost complete. Property damage, conservatively estimated, was $1.5 to $2 million. Again, that's conservatively estimated. And that would translate today well over $25 million. It is a complicated event. I would say, by way of context, that it is also emblematic of the racial violence that suffused the United States during this period. And it's impossible to understand what happened in Tulsa in 1921 if you don't appreciate the kind of systemic racism that was operating in the country during that period and thereafter. The community was rebuilt after that to a substantial degree, peaking in the 1940s, early to mid-1940s, with well over 200 documented black-owned and operated businesses. But then there was a second devastation. This was not a devastation affected through violence, but rather through policy. So generally, black wealth is 1/10 of white wealth. That's sort of the general standard. And why is that? It's because the lack of the ability for African Americans to transfer wealth intergenerationally, because there are barriers to that. Among the barriers are these incidents, like the one in Tulsa, the massacre. It really obliterated black wealth that would have otherwise transferred across generations. As Americans, we're not really good about addressing hard history. And we're not really good about making sure our textbooks include history that is troubling, particularly around race. In Tulsa in particular, Tulsa was on an upward trajectory in 1921. It went on to become the self-described oil capital of the world. So the leaders were not really interested in promoting or including this history in documents. In fact, they had an interest in minimizing this history. Would Tulsa have been Atlanta had it not been for the massacre? Because Atlanta is considered kind of the black Mecca and has been for the last few decades. The answer is, of course, I don't know. And we'll never know. But certainly Tulsa would be more advanced economically in terms of the black community had it not been for that great disruptor that was the massacre. I talk about the Black Wall Street mindset, and that is the indomitable human spirit, the sort of can-do attitude in the economic and entrepreneurial realm. And that's what resonates with me when I think about Black Wall Street. It's not necessarily a geographic space. It's not a particular set of enterprises. It's a mindset. It's a mindset that is malleable and portable.
Archaeologists have made a startling discovery, a mass grave in Tulsa, what they believe to be the remains of victims of the 1921 race massacre there. At least 12 bodies in a spot the city had no record of anyone buried. Nearly a century ago, a white mob attacked and wiped out the area in Tulsa known as Black Wall Street. Experts estimate the mob killed as many as 300 African Americans and wounded some 800 more. Local coverage now. Sierra Pizarro, NBC station KJRH, live on scene. Sierra, how is the city of Tulsa coming to grips with this?
This is an incredible moment for the Tulsa community, one that's acknowledged by Mayor G.T. Bynum today.
I'm thankful for the citizens of Tulsa who have reversed nearly a century of the conventional wisdom of this being something that we don't want to talk about and that we just want to put behind us and pretend like it never happened. This generation of Tulsans is not doing that.
Mayor Bynum visited this site yesterday, and today he's not the only one. Crowds have gathered all week here at Oakmont Cemetery to watch the work being done here. Some say they're even surprised that the investigation has come to this point where they're actually digging up soil in search of the victims of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Descendants have even stopped by. One of them tells me he didn't know his family was impacted by the attack. And that's because his family, he says, was so traumatized by what happened. They didn't want to talk about it, Chet.
Yeah. Sierra Pizarro, thanks so much with the excavation right behind her. Let's turn to Dr. Carrie Stackelback. Carrie is an archaeologist at the University of Oklahoma working on the excavation and with us live. Thank you.
So I'm going to be showing you guys a few of the pictures from the exhibit. These are some of the images that say courtesy of Tulsa Historical Society and Museum. So we're going to show you guys burnt. This one here is some of the other remains. Looks like it says William Dreamland Theater. And we've got some more remains of the burns and everything. The fire, excuse me, really. All the land is burnt up. The buildings are burnt. And we've got some of the people running. Looks like with their hands up, they're surrendering a little bit. It says captured Negroes on way to convention hall during Tulsa race riot, June 1st, 1921. And this one here says Little Africa on fire, Tulsa race riot, June 1st, 1921. Image courtesy of Tulsa Historical Society and Museum. So I'll give you guys a flashback of all the photos one more time.
Tulsa locals know that period of Greenwood's history as a kind of golden age.
You can imagine just an old-time downtown. Things like movie theaters, pharmacies, hair salons.
This one is so cute of the kids.
They called it Black Wall Street. It was a mecca. Dozens of incidents across the U.S.
So that way Dad can get a good view too.
A match or an igniter tossed on these embers. And that trigger event, was an incident that involved two teenagers. Dick Rowland, 19-year-old black boy, shine shoes downtown. Sarah Page, 17-year-old white girl, ran an elevator in a downtown building called the Drexel Building. He went to the building, boarded the elevator. Something happened. Sarah Page began to scream. They both ran out of the elevator.
Now, we don't know exactly what happened in this elevator, but a day later, Rowland was arrested and taken to the courthouse. The local newspaper ran an article claiming Rowland had assaulted Page. Even though Page refused to press charges, the article was essentially a call to action for whites.
The large white mob began to gather on the lawn of the courthouse. Dick Rowland was in jail on the top floor. A number of black men, several dozen, marched down to the courthouse to protect him. Some of them armed. Struggle between one of the black men and a small group, and one of the white men in a larger group, and things went south from that point.
Hundreds of white people descended upon Black Wall Street, armed. Black residents withdrew behind the railroad tracks that marked off the Greenwood district. Some of them were armed and fought back, but they were outnumbered by the white mob, which shot their way through. The white mob murdered. They looted, and they set fire to Black Wall Street.
This was the strategy, if you will, of how to deal with these communities, with these successful black communities. The effects were disastrous.
For 2 days, the Greenwood district burned. Martial law was declared, and the National Guard was brought in. By the time the massacre ended, Greenwood was in ruins. More than 1,200 homes were destroyed, and 35 blocks burned. The exact number of casualties is harder to pin down. Some initially only reported that white people died. Others reported somewhere between 30 and 100, mostly black casualties. But estimates now put that number closer to 300. As for those that survived, thousands of them lived in tent cities in the months that followed, and were left to pick up the pieces of rubble they once called home. After the massacre, the cover-up started. Records went missing from city files, including the very article that started it all. It makes photos from this time all the more important as part of the historical record, but back in 1921, these images served a very different purpose.
So photo postcards like these were pretty widely distributed after the massacre. At the time, they were part of white supremacist culture and kept as souvenirs of racially charged crimes.
Now they're preserved to make sure this part of Tulsa's history isn't forgotten, and they paint a clear picture of how much destruction there was that day. On the postcards, it's called the Tulsa Race Riot, a name that itself sort of erases what really happened.
By calling it a riot, it's a way of trying to rewrite the history, assuming that there were both sides involved, and that was not the case. I call it a massacre, and I call it that because that's what it was.
Greenwood eventually rebuilt, but nearly a century later, there's a part of this story that still haunts the city. No one actually knows where the victims' bodies are.
We've got to find our people. We've got to put them at rest. If not, we continue to be haunted by what was done so many years ago.
Cabin Ross, a local writer, is one of many in Tulsa descended from people who lost everything in the massacre.
So in this cemetery, there are only 2 official victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. How many victims do you think there are?
After all these years, I think 300 is putting it mild.
In 1997, the city finally put together a commission to study the massacre and help piece together what happened in 1921. They compiled records and eyewitness accounts.
The bullets were just raining down over us.
They set our house on fire and went right straight to the curtains and set the curtains on fire.
These accounts are especially important now because none of these survivors are alive anymore. And they also provided new information. Some mentioned trucks, like this one, loaded with victims of the riot. One riot witness in particular came forth testifying that he saw bodies being dumped in Oakmont Cemetery.
This is it. This is the area.
Using the survivor accounts, records, and eventually radar, the city was able to pinpoint 3 locations with anomalies in the soil. Only one step was left, to excavate, but it was something the city at the time wasn't up for doing. For many Tulsans, it was a part of history best forgotten. And
so, as you guys just saw and just heard, that video alone is horrific, and the things that the people of Tulsa, Oklahoma went through. We're gonna continue to support them, support Black Wall Street of Reno, support Black Wall Street of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I hope that they continue to shine a light on the things that happened to them within their area, and we're going to go and continue to check out the museum, and then we're going to head over and see Romar and Donald. So now we're back at the gift shop. I wanted you guys to get a great scene of this tree, it's pretty neat.
Thank you.
So I'm here at Black Wall Street of Reno, and I'm just going to kind of show you guys just a little bit of what's in here. I would really like for you guys to take a trip, if you guys want to come see for yourselves. So I'm just going to show you guys a little bit. So of course they have plenty of books.
You want to get one to your mom? Sure. You're welcome.
Thank you. Water?
Yeah.
Water?
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are some of the books that they have, and this one really caught my eye. So I'm just showing you guys just a little bit of the book.
I like science.
Yeah, what you like about it?
I just like how everything
Oh, we all recognize her, don't we?
Yeah, everything goes together.
That's the rule. Okay, you guys. So, of course, we always ask you guys to help out and make donations to those that are guests that come on the show. So, we're at Black Wall Street of Reno, and they're letting us know the types of things that they have set for the community. So right now, this is like their clothes bank, the clothing closet. Okay.
Donations be coming here. These are the backpacks that we have.
So, okay, you guys have got some school supplies and things like that. If you guys want to donate school supplies, Donald just expressed that they are taking, they are giving the kids out backpacks. So if you guys have any backpacks or any school supplies that you guys would like to donate, especially if they are brand new, that would be really helpful. You guys are on.
How you doing? Co-founder, director of Black Wall Street, Donald Griffin.
And I'm Romar Tolliver, co-founder and president. Welcome to Black Go.
351 South Wales Avenue, Reno, Nevada, 89502. Please, if you have any, Sweet 100, if you would like to give any donation, wisdom, kind words, please send it to that address.
Okay, great, son.
Okay, now are we on now?
Okay, well, I'm just saying hi, and I'm actually here with them, so you guys, you guys can see us on both ends. And we thank you guys for tuning in and watching us. And I want you guys to either come down and take a trip and come see these guys, go to the museum, make a donation, contact them any way you guys can if you're curious about
what is Black Wall Street of Reno? Thank you guys so much.